So we're talking about, on this part of the series, hatred, incompetence, government, basically government policy. So last night in the UK, it was broken, in America, because it was day there, it was broken that Donald Trump has decided to end the government shutdown. It's also been broken that this week, or the last couple of weeks, that Theresa May's government has done nothing for 2 years. We're going to talk about the policies of government that don't really help the society, the people who vote them in, basically. Right here on Around the World Today, here on Real Terrier Radio.
Podcasts brought to you by Real Terrier Radio. Around the World Today here on Real Terrier Radio.
Hello and welcome to Around the World Today, here on Real Terrier Radio podcasts with me, Terry D. So, we're talking about... I think we're going to have to start on the top of this, because this episode is broken into little themes. So, we have had an American government shutdown, the longest in history, 35 days. At the beginning, we had Trump saying he wasn't going to back down. He wasn't going to, do anything. Now, after 35 days, we have Donald Trump saying this.
I am very proud to announce today that we have reached a deal to end the shutdown and reopen the federal government. As everyone knows, I have a very powerful alternative, but I didn't want to use it at this time. Hopefully it will be unnecessary. I want to thank all of the incredible federal workers and their amazing families who have shown such extraordinary devotion in the face of this recent hardship. You are fantastic people. You are incredible patriots. Many of you have suffered far greater than anyone, but your families would know or understand. And not only did you not complain, but in many cases you encouraged me to keep going because you care so much about our country and about its border security.
What Donald fails to take into account is that he's praising the people for the government workers who were laid off, who weren't paid, probably had a shit Christmas. They've had a shit beginning of 2019, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? They haven't been paid. They are using the equivalent of the United Kingdom Food Bank to get food. They have no money because their wages have been held up because of an orange buffoon that basically doesn't understand that his actions as president have consequences for the little people, meaning that if you worked in a park as a park warden, you didn't get paid. If you worked in the Department of Motor Vehicle, you didn't get paid. Airport security personnel were still at their jobs, but guess what? They weren't getting paid. So the hardships that he's talking about and thanking everyone for it was basically because of him not wanting to do a deal. He had to back down over his wall. And his wall is no longer a wall, it's a fence now. So basically what we have is President Donald Trump has yielded to political pressure to end the longest US government shutdown in history. After 35 days, he brokered a deal, or backed a deal, to fund federal agencies for 3 weeks. That's only 3 weeks. But it included none of the money that he has been demanding for a wall between the US border and the Mexican border. The Republican president previously vowed to reject budgets unless it included $5.7 billion, that's £403 billion, to fund his signature campaign pledge. So basically, Donald Trump, who wrote The Art of the Deal, who by all accounts said in 2016 that he was a very good negotiator, has failed to negotiate jack with Nancy Pelosi. Does that mean that Nancy Pelosi would have been a better business person than Donald Trump? I'll let you come up with that decision. However, but Democrats who control the House of Representatives in their Congress flatly refused. Later on Friday, the Senate and the House unanimously passed a bill to temporarily end the shutdown, after which President Trump signed the bill into law. Following the votes in Congress, Mr. Trump tweeted, his decision had been in no way a concession, but was taking care of the millions of people who were getting badly hurt by the shutdown. So this is what his tweet actually said. I wish people would read or listen to my words on the border wall. This was in no way a concession. It was taking care of millions of people who are getting badly hurt by the shutdown. With the understanding that in 21 days, if there is no deal done, it's off to the races. I'm sorry, but this man, he doesn't understand. He has no understanding. So you've got Trump who says he's a good Christian, but he's putting up a border wall. You've got Trump who says, once again, he's a good Christian, but he's hurting many, many more people. His own people. In his own country. If he's a patriot, he should be putting his own people first, but he's not putting his own people first. He's putting his wallet first. So, yeah, it's just quite funny. Now, this is how other presidents got money for borders.
We will build the wall, you know that.
The fence is now basically complete.
To reform our immigration system, we have more to do.
That's why our administration has moved aggressively to secure our borders more.
Rather than making them or talking about putting up a fence, why don't we work out some recognition of our mutual problems?
Let's start with the basics. The U.S. border with Mexico is almost 2,000 miles long, running from the Pacific Ocean to the Gulf of Mexico. There's currently 654 miles of fencing or some type of barrier.
What we're looking at is the border wall that was constructed back in 2009.
The fence in Eloise's backyard was signed into law by President George W. Bush.
The bill I'm about to sign is an important step in our nation's efforts to secure our border and reform our immigration system.
So who voted for this? Why is this fence here?
Well, actually, both there were Republicans and Democrats who voted for this. We were united, and now we're not.
These people approved it just a few years ago, and now all of a sudden they're not. The reason they're not is because of me, I hate to say.
So how did the debate over border security ultimately lead to the longest ever government shutdown?
In the 1990s, there was a significant amount of undocumented immigration across the U.S.-Mexico border. Just groups of migrants who would run through the port at San Ysidro to get into the United States.
All Americans, not only in the states most heavily affected, but in every place in this country, are rightly disturbed by the large numbers of illegal aliens entering our country.
So Bill Clinton became the first president to order a 17-mile barrier to be built along the Mexico border. At the same time, the number of undocumented people in the country was increasing.
I, George Walker Bush, do solemnly swear.
So when the next president took office, the debate shifted towards comprehensive immigration reform.
There was very famously in early September a hearing in the Senate Judiciary Committee. 2 days later was 9/11, and that changed the context of all debates. The immigration system was put under a microscope. That's when the fence became, again, a very big part of the debate.
We are launching the most technologically advanced border security initiative in American history.
I would also say that the overall rhetoric around immigration was somewhat different. You had a Republican president who was trying to work across the aisle with Democrats on comprehensive immigration reform, and the Fence Act came in that context.
America needs to conduct this debate on immigration in a reasoned and respectful tone.
Barack Obama, who voted for the Fence Act, saw it as a first step to get Republicans to the table.
Then they wanted a fence. Well, the fence is now basically complete.
Fence aside, Obama's crackdown on immigration took the shape of more than 2 million deportations during his time in office.
He deported actually more people than President Trump has. Part of it was the tactic or belief that the administration had that if they could show that they were tough on immigration enforcement, that could pave the way toward comprehensive immigration reform conversations with Republicans.
Despite a decrease in apprehensions at the border in the following years, due in part to the fence, that reform never happened. And then in 2015, a certain billionaire rolled down the escalator.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
President Trump's rhetoric around immigration is significantly harder. It is significantly harsher. He is taking a very strong tone when it comes to immigrants and linking immigration and immigrants to crime and terrorism without a lot of evidence and statistics to back it up.
An impenetrable, physical, tall, powerful, beautiful southern border wall.
And I think that shift in tone and rhetoric, and again, Democrats feeling that politically it's in their advantage to be much more pro-immigration.
Put the DREAM Act on the floor for a vote in the House and Senate.
Their priorities are around the undocumented and dreamers, and border security is, and for a lot of them, the price they must pay to get that, but they're not sure how much bigger price they're willing to pay.
From here on this border, Washington seems as entrenched as ever. So then, what could lead to a compromise?
He wants something that he can call a wall to say that he has fulfilled a campaign promise to his base. He firmly believes that that is one, if not the main reason that he is president now.
A wall, a fence, whatever they'd like to call it.
We're in sort of a continuous loop of political partisanship and rhetoric, making it harder to negotiate compromises.
All they're doing is fighting. They're not governing. We're being denied good government.
We're not going to fix this system until the parties are willing to compromise and come together and do what the majority of the public wants, which is make a deal.
This should have been done 30 years ago. It's complicated.
Let's debate in private. Okay?
Yeah. Here's something else.
I love them. I respect them. I really appreciate the great job they're doing. Many of those people that are not getting paid are totally in favor of what we're doing because they know the future of this country is dependent on having a strong border, especially a strong southern border.
So he thinks that people are happy about not getting paid and they supported him. I have a question. How can people be supporting him? Now, the US shutdown showed that people are out of touch. Wilbur Ross, who is a senator? Oh, Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross attached a scone from struggling workers after, the ongoing shutdown, or what was going on, to take out bank loans. This is what they were said. True, the people might have to pay a little bit of interest, he told a broadcaster in the States, but the idea, and it's a paycheck or zero, is not really a valid idea. Now, critics have has actually kicked the multi-millionaire for being out of touch, and has described him as this. Well, he kind of is. Do you know what I mean? To have no money, then to go and take a loan out and have to pay the loan back, but you don't know how long this shutdown was going to go for. About 800 federal workers missed out on their payday yesterday. That's 800 again. 800 the week before. If you get paid weekly and you're missing out on paycheck to paycheck to paycheck. The government shutdown is now the longest in history. Okay, so it was the longest in history. President Trump is demanding, as we already said, about $5.7 billion for the wall on the border that he doesn't need to build. Ross, should we hear what Ross said? Here is CNBC's reporter who, when they were talking to Ross.
You might have seen the Commerce Secretary on the wires talking with the Squawk Box guys this morning about the impact of the shutdown on some of these furloughed government workers. Take a listen.
There are reports that there are some federal workers who are going to homeless shelters to get food.
Well, I know they are, and I don't really quite understand why, because, as I mentioned before, the obligations that they would undertake, say a borrowing from a bank or a credit union, are in effect federally guaranteed. So the 30 days of pay that some people will be out, there's no real reason why they shouldn't be able to get a loan against it. And we've seen a number of ads from financial institutions doing that.
Obviously raised a few eyebrows given some of the stories we've heard about the workers. We talked about this yesterday, Jim, and I mean, if you're a family that lives paycheck to paycheck, taking on paying interest on these obligations doesn't help.
I thought that was painful. How could be? I like him very much. How could you be that out of touch with what people live, paycheck to paycheck? How could you be that out of touch?
He seems to think they can get the credit that they need to be able to stay them over.
Maybe do one of those check cashing outfits. Maybe a 17%.
Right.
So what little Wilbur didn't understand is that you have to pay interest back on loans. So on a wages, you don't pay your interest. You don't. Do you know what I mean? You probably could earn interest if you're saving your money, but you have to pay it back. So you're paying back your own wages. Mr. Ross, who downplayed the number of people who were purged, affected, you choose your word, by the prolonged shutdown of his boss, Donnie Trump. That's Donnie Trump. Put it in the perspective that you're talking about 800,000 workers, and while he feels sorry for the individuals who have hardship cases, 800,000 workers, if they never got their pay, you're talking about 1/3% on our GDP, he said. However, this is what Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called the comments appalling, and said that they were the 21st century equivalent for let them eat cake. Okay, they're talking about Marie Antoinette, the wife of the wife of French King Louis. I can't read Roman writing, so we're not even going to go down there. And was the last queen of France before the French Revolution in 1789. The apocalypse the political thought has been used to phase when she learned that the people have no bread. Social media users have also been picking up on this. This was on the 25th, so this was yesterday. One person named Justin Amasha said it's amazing what Wilbur Ross was nominated and confirmed to be Security Secretary of anything. He's shown over the many years that he doesn't understand basic economics, and to describe him as out of touch would be an understatement. Someone else said, #Wilbur Ross should be forced to resign after offering loans with interest to federal workers. Another person, come on guys, Wilbur Ross is right. I mean, who doesn't have a couple of $1,000,000 slushed in their mattress for a rainy day? Sarcasm. Did you know that Wilbur Ross wore a 7... there's always the Commerce Secretary has been confused before of being out of touch, when in 2017 a photo of him wearing a $600 slippers done around, and they were customised with the Commerce Department logo. I'd be a little worried. Do you know what I mean? However, an Associated Press poll published on Thursday suggests that 34% of Americans supported Donald Trump, overall down from 42% a month earlier, suggesting that the shutdown may have affected his popularity. However, there's always some people who disagree. However, some social media people attacked Chuck Schumer and the Democratic Party, saying that they were responsible for the US government shutdown in the first place. Not when the baby's thrown the pram, the toys out of the pram, and the grown-ups aren't allowed to talk. We're not going to read you some of these comments because there's only 2 and they're idiotic. President Trump defended his Commerce Secretary in remarks which also drew criticism. Everything this man does, and we've played that for you, seems to bring criticism. President Trump, as we said, defended them, and this is what he said. When telling reporters that he had not heard Mr. Ross's words, and struggling that he may or should have said it definitely, Mr. Trump said people should try to work along with banks and grocery stores during the shutdown. Okay, so the grocery stores wish to make the money. They don't care. You go into Tesco or any grocery store, so Tesco in the UK, Walmart in America, and you've got no money to pay for the food, you're not getting any food. Sorry, but you're not. So how can they work with grocery stores? Okay, a bank says no to you for a loan because you have a bad credit rating, but you work as a park keeper or administrator at the DMV or even your local education department. Bank says no to you for your loan, so you've got no money. Once again, how can you work with a bank if the system says no? Out of touch. It's amazing. To tell you the truth, this has been a very bad shutdown altogether. He loves and respects, according to this. This is from a mother of 2, depends on weekly free bank handouts.
Right now, I've just been having to go to local food banks weekly now instead of monthly. And I'm not the only one going there. I mean, I'm seeing furloughed workers going there as well because they're like in the same boat. They're living paycheck to paycheck. It's strange how we're all in this together. The thing is, time is running out, though. I think in a couple of weeks, it's going to be much greater need. and other things start to fall, other benefits like cash benefits, if that starts to fall, I mean, we can be in serious trouble.
The challenge for you is that you rely solely on government subsidies to survive because you've had health issues. You used to be a truck driver and now you can't work. It's your disability that holds you back.
Yes, it is. I've been through operations. My last operation was a botched operation, so my foot doesn't move. I can't take my kids to an amusement park, things of that nature.
And your children are very young. They're 6 and 8 years old. Does this make you angry because there seems to be no end in sight?
It makes me more sad because I came from an abusive relationship and I got away from that and I didn't have anything. So to be able to have these benefits and to live normally and to come this far and then now it's put in jeopardy, it's just sad to think about what could happen.
I'm just wondering, Doris, if you had the opportunity to speak to the politicians in Washington, D.C., would you have anything to say to them at all?
Absolutely. I would say, please come to a compromise. I think all Americans right now will agree with whatever can be done. Just come to a compromise. Our lives depend on it.
It's been a good government shutdown, hasn't it, really? People's lives depend on it. Why, when government lawmakers across the board, so if you work here in the UK, you have civil service, why, and they're controlled, in the UK, the civil service, if there's no government, the civil service keeps carrying on, the civil service keeps functioning. The government is no matter. Do you know what I mean? If budget doesn't get passed, the civil service's funding, it keeps going on. But in America, they have tried to decentralise power from one person to a whole group of people, and when the free sections don't work, or like now, the free sections are controlled by different political parties, this is when you get into deals and things like this. Here is another one. I don't know if there's much on here.
I'm here today actually out of the kindness of the restaurateurs here offering free meals to federal workers. We really appreciate it. I mean, it's difficult because you don't have a paycheck, so it's nice to get a free anything when you can get it.
Public kitchens have opened for federal workers, providing free meals for them and their families during the shutdown.
They still have to pay their rent, pay their mortgages, put food on the table for their families. And so we set up this kitchen to be able to help support them with a plate of hot food. For us, it's about folks that need a plate of food. And that's our mission, to be able to serve them.
The kitchen is owned by celebrity chef Jose Andres and has fed 4,000 people on its opening day.
So for the people that it doesn't affect, they don't care one way or the other. But for the rest of us, it's real. It is real. And as a government worker who's worked over 30 years, it's not something that you expect. The government is the one place that you expect, okay, I work here, my job is stable. We've experienced furloughs before, but nothing like this. You can't call your mortgage company, your car insurance, your bill collector so many times and say, hey, I work for the government, I'm not getting paid.
Some people have taken matters into their own hands, giving out $20 bills.
I'm a human being, I'm a United States citizen, and I would never expect another human being to work for free.
She had a message for the government.
One of these people are doing their job and you ain't doing yours. Thank you.
I like that the woman in the end was giving out $20 bills, and what she said, and this is what she said.
Yours. Every one of these people are doing their job and you ain't doing yours. Thank you.
Once again.
Doing their job and you ain't doing yours.
So every one of those people are doing their jobs and you ain't doing yours. I'm sorry, but it's true. So this is what would happen if the government's prison officers didn't get paid.
The great majority of our staff are the lowest paid in federal law enforcement in government, and they live paycheck to paycheck. We're in our very cold winter months, so to have to decide whether or not to buy something to eat or to keep the lights on, that's the kind of reality that our federal law enforcement officers are actually dealing with. And those are distractions for us because we have to keep our eyes on the inmates to prevent further crimes inside of our facilities.
What would happen if you and others stopped turning up to work? Would you lose your jobs? Would that be a threat?
Yes, unfortunately, federal law enforcement officers cannot strike. So we're having that problem right now, not because staff are refusing to come to work. They just don't have the means to basically travel and commute to work. It takes gas to go to work. You have to pay for that. You know, you have children that have to have daycare. You have to pay for that. So now we're running risk of being understaffed in a prison. So that means that inmate services like visitation, providing meals, or providing medical care could actually be affected. And those are things that could lead to riots and disturbances. We have facilities right now in New York that have actually canceled visitation. The inmates resorted in a hunger strike. Those are the warning signs for us. We have had this happen before. Back in the 90s, they took over many of our facilities and destroyed them and killed other people as a result of it. So I am very concerned right now.
What kinds of prisoners are you responsible for?
I could just tell you we're responsible for enemies, foreign and domestic. We got terrorists in those prisons, narco drug dealers, murderers, gangs. I've been speaking with the director of the Bureau of Prisons, advising that we probably need to be working on contingencies to basically secure our facilities to make sure that none of the inmates actually escape.
Once again, a decision taken in the Oval Office that he didn't understand the ramifications of. So that one affects prisoners. All of Trump's base want to be secure. The whole point of the border wall was to be secure. What about the prisons? Here is one last video that we'll play, and I hope you're getting to make your own opinions here of, like, this, you know, we're trying to look for when politicians make decisions but don't actually know the ramifications of making the decision.
In regard to Mexico paying for the wall, I'm not so sure people really took that literally. If you look at quotes in President Trump's book, Art of the Deal, he said people want to believe something that is biggest and greatest. And I call it truthful hyperbole.
Yeah,
so he uses exaggeration like a salesman. I don't think that that is what people are really concerned about. What they reacted to was his strength and the fact that he said he would build a wall. I believe that wall will be built.
Well, you're dangerously close to suggesting that the truth doesn't really matter. Surely it really does matter a great deal, particularly in this issue. Donald Trump, again, to move on from the costing of the wall, Donald Trump said, I have the right to declare a national emergency, and he went on primetime TV to tell the American people there was a security crisis, a national emergency. The truth is, there is no national emergency. The DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, confirms that the vast majority of drugs entering the U.S. From Mexico come through official border crossings. They do not come from illegals crossing any sort of border illegally. If you look again at the evidence of terrorist groups, which Donald Trump says are sending operatives, again, illegally into the U.S. from Mexico, there is not one known case of a terrorist entering U.S. territory from Mexico. These are more Donald Trump untruths.
No, I mean, we could spend all day long if you want to go down the rabbit hole of how many politicians flip-flop. So I think that that is politics as usual. However, I am from Texas, and I completely disagree. This is a national security crisis as well as a humanitarian crisis. Yes, people in 2016, yes, there were slightly fewer crossings, but it spiked again at the end of 2018. And what we've seen are 60,000 people coming across the border a month. These are CB Border Patrol statistics, not White House statistics.
With respect,
now,
the numbers aren't even half. They're not even half what they were in the late 90s and early 2000s. So
but what has changed, Stephen? What has changed, Stephen, is the composite of the illegal immigrants coming across. First of all, it used to be individual males. Now they are families, including unaccompanied children. And many make the perilous journey from El Salvador, for example, and Honduras. And some, I don't know how many, but some are subjected to sexual assault and really terrible conditions. They made promises from the coyotes, is what we call the human smugglers, coming into the United States. And what it has done is it's strained our detention centers, it's strained our medical supply services. We need more personnel across the border, and Customs and Border Patrol agents, including Mark Morgan, who was Customs Border Patrol chief under Obama, stated that a wall worked.
So this woman is Donald Trump's advisor for 2020. His election campaign in 2020. She's a bit clueless. And she was up against Stephen from BBC's Hard Talk, so good to her. Now, we do have one more. This is what farmers are saying.
All right, showtime. This government shutdown has affected me monetarily. That's first and foremost, and it's shut down local markets, and it's really affected my farming operation. The government isn't open for business for us. Every commodity in this country, soybeans, corn, wheat, cotton, all those commodities are regulated by the United States Department of Agriculture. So when they close the doors, they are affecting every commodity in this country. The president could do a lot better job at showing leadership and bringing our country together. And he owes that to people like myself. And guess what? I don't need a damn wall. I need my money today. I need my money to plant my crop. I need my money to pay my labor. I need my money to continue my farming operation. We don't need a wall. We need to focus on the American economy and putting people to work that are already here and keeping people working, such as myself. And right now he's doing none of the above. He's not getting this wall, he's not keeping the country going, and he's hurting the people, the American people. So right now the president is in a lose-lose situation, and he really needs to focus on getting this country back going, opening up the government so people like myself can go back to work. And that's really what we care about.
So that was a farmer in America, in Virginia. Now, I hear you wondering, there's a lot there that we're going to take from our next segment about unity. So, one more on why the government shutdown happened.
Why is the United States in the midst of a government shutdown? To put it simply, every year, Congress has to pass and the President has to sign laws funding the federal government. In this case, there are a number of departments and agencies that don't have funding, and that has led to a shutdown. In a way, the system was designed this way. With separate, co-equal branches of government, you can have a president controlled by one party, Congress, or even a part of Congress controlled by another. That, they believe, fosters compromise and deliberation, but in recent decades, it has been just the opposite.
If we don't have border security, we'll shut down the government.
You have Donald Trump and Republicans demanding money for their wall, or they won't pass any new funding.
Does anybody have any doubt?
Democrats being dead set against that.
We're not doing a wall.
And hence, you have a deadlock. In this case, Democrats don't have any real motivation to strike a deal. They just won a sweeping victory in the midterm elections where they have taken control of one chamber of Congress, the House of Representatives. Their base doesn't want a deal. Polls show that the public at large isn't all that jazzed about the idea of Trump's wall, and they blame Donald Trump in particular for the shutdown.
Law enforcement professionals have requested $5.7 billion for a physical barrier.
For Democrats, this is about more than a few $1 billion for a wall. This is about policy priorities and who is going to set them for the remainder of Donald Trump's presidency. Donald Trump, on the other hand, has forced the issue by demanding funding for his wall. And as he himself has admitted, it would be embarrassing if he were to back down.
Build that wall. Build that wall.
His base and conservative commentators have insisted that he take action. The wall was a tangible example, the kind of promises he made on the campaign trail.
We're going to build the wall.
And if he wasn't able to deliver on that promise, it would be very clear when he runs for re-election in 2020. Donald Trump has described this as a
growing humanitarian and security crisis at our southern border.
And a president who backs down in the face of such a crisis wouldn't be much of a leader.
So, there is a purpose why we played that bit one for last for you on this topic, is because the last bit, not much of a leader. He's failed at everything he's tried to do. Just get this into your head. Come 2020, the best thing America could do, and I'm not advocating, I'm not telling you that if you're American you should do this, but the best thing, in my opinion, America can do is get rid of Donald Trump. Retire him. Anyhows, we're moving on to the cause of unity. Where Brexit is concerned, the Queen has now called for unity of the country. However, conservatives like Jacob Rees-Mogg are a bit confused. One minute he's calling for the Queen to get involved, then when the Queen does get involved and she's claiming unity against the country, he's saying, no thank you, Your Majesty, don't come in. I was watching a little conservative chap on the news talking about this yesterday on Sky, actually. And I'll see if we can find it. No, we can't. Okay. But I think it's good that the Queen's calling for unity, personally, because, you know, someone is above politics saying, well, look at yourselves. And like we've been keep saying, you've got brother against brother, sister against sister with Brexit. So, you know, with a bit of luck, this isn't a Brexit thing. So, yeah, thank you for tuning in. Actually, I'm joking. Alright, so what we want you to do is end this now, shall we? So, we'll add it all together. So basically, you've got Donald Trump, who with the government shutdown made a decision, didn't think of how it's going to affect people, continued going for 35 days, for a month, mind. People not getting paid for 2 months' wages. Being told by ministers in the cabinet to take bank loans, work with grocery stores. I think they mean food banks. But hey, they have got confused on what a bank is and what a food bank is, put them together and put the separative narratives there, what they are if you have got money. But when you haven't got money, do you know what I mean? Anyway. An energy-based company in Scotland has gone bust. Another one? Many companies are going bust, energy-based. I've noticed. But anyway, thank you for tuning in to Around the World today. And remember, if you do ever get into politics, think of the long-term goals. Don't think of the short-term goals. But once again, thank you for tuning in. If you want to recatch this or recatch any of our podcasts, you can do this on our website, www.realterrio.co.uk, or you can go to our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/RealTario, or you can send us a tweet at RealTario. You can tweet me at RTRealTario. No, it's not. RTTerryD. Or you can also send me an email. It's terryd@realtario.co.uk. And have a good day. Bye-bye.
Podcasts brought to you by Real Terrio Radio. Around the world today here on Real Terrio Radio.